Picture this. You're in front of your latest prospect, closing the biggest deal of your life. Your pitch decks were perfect. Your scripts, flawless. And when the time came to answer the golden question of, are you ready to move forward? Nothing happened. For everyone who loves sales, this is their worst nightmare. But fear not, because in this podcast, we're unraveling the enigma behind those missed opportunities. From appointments that evaporate to presentations that felt like a Broadway show but ended in awkward silence, we're dissecting it all. Welcome to Love Your Sales.
This podcast is presented by GenHead. GenHead leverages AI so small and medium-sized businesses can find their ideal clients to make more sales. Other companies talk about AI, but we are using it every day to drive down marketing costs and increase revenue. Learn more at genhead.com. That's genhead.com.
Welcome to another episode of Love Your Sales. I am thrilled today. I am joined by Ari Milner, a small business technology and cybersecurity expert with over 15 years of experience. As the founder of Planned IT, he helps business secure and streamline their IT, web, and compliance needs, all while working entirely remotely from Mexico City. Ari is also the president of the Center of Natural Medicine in Portland, a clinic founded by his father in 1991, now managing the clinic with his brother as their father battles Parkinson's. Ari is deeply committed to helping small businesses, whether through technology or healthcare, operate efficiently and securely. Please join me in welcoming Ari. I am really excited to have this conversation with you. You and I talked previously, obviously, and I'm really thrilled to have you join me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more? What I absolutely love is starting your own business. There are so many nuances as an entrepreneur that we do not think about in the beginning. We're like, oh, okay, I've got my laptop. I'm armed with, this product. I'm armed with this widget. I'm going to go out and people are just going to show up and buy my stuff. But there are so many layers that as you all of a sudden become a real company, a real boy, as I like to say, or a real girl, that we don't think about. And one of those is security.
Yeah, security, IT, totally. This is before Plan IT, I had a computer repair shop in Portland, where I'm from, and that's where I got into doing the business IT managed services and started supporting businesses there, going on site and setting up networks, securing networks, and the landscape has changed so much in the last 9 years of doing Plan IT that the cybersecurity needs have gotten way more complex. And there's just so much that you really can't do on your own as a small business anymore. Like it used to be that you could just go buy like the Norton or McAfee and you'd be fine, right? But those days are long gone now. And like one example is in, it was, I think about 2018, 2019, we rolled out SentinelOne as a security service option for our clients. And it's a service that is incredible with how it's actually using AI to combat cyber threats. And that's probably the first product in our stack that really had AI as an important component of it.
Interesting. And you're right, the landscape has drastically changed. I remember I was actually talking to my husband and we were watching a show from the 90s. And there was this, like big, huge computer sitting in like the family, room of the show, the house that we were watching, and it's like this gigantic computer. And I'm like, you remember that? Do you remember when you had that huge computer, the dial-up, and you weren't worried about somebody hacking in and stealing your information? The games that I would run home from school and I'm like, I'm going to play a computer game, and it was the little line that got bigger as it ate the dot on the screen. You weren't you
Snake. Yeah.
Yeah, the snake, is that what it's called? The snake game? It was a
Yeah.
DOS prompt in order to get into it. I don't, my daughter's not even gonna know what DOS prompt means. And I'd call my mom up and be like, okay, I'm gonna play this game. I can't remember what's the DOS prompt to play this game. And then I'd have to hang up with her and try it because now I have to use the phone line to dial into the internet. That that was not security was not a thing. Like,
Right.
who's
Yeah,
gonna
totally. And that's like reminds me of like you mentioned doing that back in the day where you and every end user had to do those kind of prompts. But that's something that we're still doing as IT professionals, writing scripts to run in the background,
right?
to automate processes. And that's also what AI has been incredible at doing in the last couple of years with the large language models, where it's a great tool for doing scripts and automation. But all of those tools are being used by the bad guys too, right? So it's a tug of war, I guess, between who can stay ahead in order to protect systems or attack systems. Yeah.
That's totally true. What the good guys are doing, the bad guys are doing equally as fast to try to basically beat each other out on, well, how quickly can I break into the system? Well, then that you gotta, how quickly can I stop them from breaking into the system? Wildly interesting. What completely, like, I'm glad I don't
Yeah.
have to do that part. So let's talk about how that has changed and how it has changed when you talk with people about the importance. I can sit here all day long and be like, oh, Ari, are you telling me that I'm going to have to pay you XYZ a month to keep me secure? What? I mean, come on, really? I'm a small business owner. Are people really going to try to come after me? Like, I don't have anything that they need.
Yeah, totally. You may think you don't have something valuable, but even just like your contact list in your CRM or in your email client, like any of that can totally be used against you and your clients. Your system could be attacked by ransomware is a newer, more common threat that where you just locks you out of all your systems. So then your business can't function. Do you have like insurance for business interruption? Do you have backups to get it back? Because even if you pay the ransom, there's many cases where you still don't get anything back after paying the ransom. You're negotiating with a cyber criminal, right? So what are the chances that they're going to even follow through? And then even once you do pay, say you get it back, they still have a copy of your data. They could still do nefarious things with it, right? So yeah, the whole industry 20 years ago was mostly like you're saying, break fix. It wasn't managed services. It was, I've got a problem, my system goes down, I'm going to call an IT guy, they'll come out and fix it. They may be able to remote in. That was pretty rare back then,
Mhm.
right? But you would get like a bill for the fix one time. But that just doesn't work for cybersecurity because we need to be constantly monitoring systems, constantly protecting systems. Um, like I get alerts all the time for my clients, like getting um, sign-ins blocked from China or Russia or wherever people trying to get in. There's a lot that's probably happening to you right now, and you just don't know because you're not monitoring it, right? And that's where an IT partner like me would come in and make sure you've got the policies in place to make sure that even though they're knocking at the door regularly, that nobody's going to be able to break in.
That's so scary. That's it's well, okay, so here's a perfect example of actually something that just happened to me this weekend. I took a little mini vacation. I used my credit card at a little kiosk in an arcade really quickly, just, reloaded the arcade credits for the girls to go and play games, right? What a waste of money. And actually, no, because they were entertained. I got to see big smiles. They're entertained. They're playing arcade games. I slipped it into my pocket. We then went home afterwards. I then had an engagement where I had to go out that later on that night, and I opened up my wallet. My credit card's not in there. And I thought, oh my God, where's my credit card? Now you do okay, where was the last time I used it? Oh, it was at the arcade. Okay. Put it in my pocket. It must have fallen out of my pocket because that sweatshirt now has found its way into the laundry. And I'm calling my credit card. Did you find my credit card? So the great thing about, credit cards nowadays is that everybody has apps for them. You could literally pull it up on your phone. You can turn off your credit card with a click of a button. That's great. Not, back in the day, you had to track down a phone number. You got to call them. I was able to turn it off just like that. But that fear for that moment is I lost it at the arcade. Somebody picked it up. Somebody used it. And now the number's out there, right? You're talking about an unknown fear of somebody literally just logging into my system, and my system houses all of my credit cards, possibly my clients' credit cards, all of my clients' passwords to anything that I may need to access in order to support them. And being that I'm a sales and marketing company, I'm in sometimes their domains. I'm in the back end of their websites. And all of a sudden that crushing feeling of, oh my God, they're not stealing my information. Just they could be stealing somebody else's information, and I would be responsible for that.
Yeah, totally. And there's even depending on your location, there's different local laws for breach notifications. When you get hacked, then you have to publicly tell your clients and report it to the state in many states. And there's a certain different thresholds and windows for that and such, but you're totally responsible at that level. And that's where not just cybersecurity services come in, but mitigation services, an insurance. Our latest service we've just rolled out this year is a cyber warranty that is actually a third-party vendor who's connected to our systems and can provide a financial guarantee of up to $500,000 a year in coverage, because they're saying, yes, Plan IT is covering our clients and doing best practices, right? So there's those kinds of levels of protection that you can get in case an incident like this happens. And frankly, it isn't really an if it happens, it's a when it happens. Who are you going to be dealing with? Who's going to be your IT partner on your side when something like that happens? How much are they going to be able to have mitigated it, stopped it, kicked them out before any real damage could get done, right?
Right. Very interesting. And let me just premise this by saying I don't keep credit cards in my system specifically because of that. Because I don't know what I don't know. I
mean, like you said, credit cards are very protected, right? But a lot of payments now are happening with ACH or just electronic bank transfers that don't have that level of security or insurance that a credit card has, right? So yeah, it can be scary.
And that's where, it's okay, what information do you want to house on your system? Because then you become more and more liable for XYZ. So what do you think the biggest hurdle in your, sales process when you're talking with these small to mid-sized companies? What do you think for them is the hardest to digest when it's talking about, and this really is about the sales process, because sitting here and talking to you, I'm going, okay, well, fear will drive me to go, yep, I need you. But some companies are just yeah, nope, I'm good. I don't need that. You're just trying to take my money. But what do you say to that? How do you overcome that objection?
Yeah, there's a few sales tactics we use in IT for that specifically. My personal favorite is when I go into a sales call with like a new prospect who I'm not already working with, I'm focusing entirely on what their pain points are, right? And I'm going to sell them on the minimum package that gets them what they need. So then we have a relationship and we
Right.
can build up from there, right? I can always upsell on more cybersecurity later, right? If they're not seeing the value at the moment. And then the tactic to sell them on it later is we actually have a waiver that's like, okay, we recommended that you buy this cybersecurity service, or this backup service or whatever. You're opting to not do that. We're not liable for that in case something goes wrong, right? So separate from all my general agreements that I have with all my clients, if they say no to something that I'm recommending that's best practices, I'm going to be like, okay, you're saying no, sign this please, or we're not going to be able to continue working together, right?
Right.
Um, so, and that works probably 3/4 of the time, right? They're like, oh, okay, yikes, maybe I will buy this, right? Right.
Well, and it's funny because it comes down to the same thing of, hey, here's your house. Here's the insurance we recommend. And I've gone around and around in circles with my insurance agent on, and she makes the recommendations and then we go down the list, right? She's like,
Mhm.
well, I recommend umbrella insurance and I recommend it be X amount. And then she'll go, and here's why. Because if you have a total loss, blah, blah, blah. And then I go, oh, yeah, I should definitely go with the recommended amount. Because now you understand what the point is. You understand the why behind it.
Mhm.
And now that I've been talking with you and I know other people in this, in the managed service arena, you understand the why and you kind of go, ah, right. Now I get it. Like, but if you're an outsider looking in going, yeah, nobody's ever going to hack me. I'm a one person show. Doesn't necessarily mean, especially if you have no security whatsoever, you're easy pickings.
With AI and automations now, a lot of the bad guys are doing stuff where they're just trying to break in everywhere with the easy method, and whatever they can get in and grab, it takes them nothing relative to breaking into a bigger corporation. So they'll totally take that and run with whatever they can get.
Oh, I've gotten what I think in my career now. I had it was an email of, this is an oldie. I'm sure that many people out there are going to go, oh yeah, that one's happened to me. An email that looked identical to somebody else at my company that emailed and said, hey boss, can you please update my payroll information? My new bank account is. And then all of a sudden, and it never came from me. And then all of a sudden, payday came, and I'm like, is there a reason you guys didn't pay me this week? And they're like, well,
Ooh.
yeah, you emailed us and said you wanted us to update your payroll information. And I'm like, nope, no, I didn't. Did not do that. And it was a really large company. And so somehow that made it all the way to HR because the first person didn't look at the email address and see that it was a spoof email address. They then emailed the next person saying, hey, and this was a long time ago when this
Mhm.
was first happening. And they traced it all the way back to that first person who thought they were talking to me.
Wow. That's a
And it was
great
like,
example because there's so many possible ways that that could have been stopped along the way. If the right technology, the right security piece was, if there was like a good inbound email security filter, it would have just been like, oh, that's a spoofing thing and blocked it there, right?
correct.
But also like if there was a process at the company that anytime there's a change, call the person to verify it, right?
That one seems
That's like a,
obvious.
a super obvious, like, just business process, human way to do it, right?
Or you have
Um,
to have a signature when a bank information changes. It's kind of like, But
Right.
again, this was a long time ago when people weren't expecting that. Nowadays, I think that more people are like, duh. I mean, come on. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and end user training too is super important for that too. Like maybe if that person who received the spoofed email had taken some phishing training and realized the method for checking if an email is legit, they would have taken the few seconds and been like, "Oh, no, this doesn't look right. Let's
right.
double check this." Yeah.
Right. And I could go, on a tangent in a million different directions on why, like, why would I have emailed you and not gone directly to, HR when you could go in a million different directions, but it's like, wow, how did that, and then there were other ones like, oh, I got a text message that, directly from the CEO of the company with a link in it saying, here, can you please click on this and follow the instructions? It's like, no. First of all, it was a CEO that always went by an abbreviated name and they put their full name in there and it was like, from, instead of Rick, it was from Richard. And it's like, wait, you don't refer to yourself as Richard, you
Yeah.
know, but those are the ones like you either, and as soon as you click on that link, and I've again, I've gotten emails that come through where it really quickly I've clicked on it and gone, oh no, I shouldn't have clicked on that. And immediately notified, the IT, I just clicked on something. You're gonna probably want to do a complete now like cleanup of that. And I've been hacked, at a company, I knew that I was the breach.
Right.
And then did the notification of, sorry, boss, I think I may have just screwed up. Like I clicked on this link and now and sure enough, my clients all started getting these spoof emails from me. And I'm like,
Uh,
it's one of those put your head down and walk out of the office going, yeah, I just created a shitstorm here.
yeah. Well, so I'll tell you our one breach we've had with a client in the last 9 years of Plan IT is a tax prep firm. And the owner of the firm wanted remote access to their own computers, and that's something we do and set up for them, right? But what happened is the password they used for that happened to be some password that was exposed in another previous breach, and the 2FA wasn't set up on it on their account, it was on our accounts, right? And somebody got in. We caught them within half an hour, like within minutes, essentially, of them getting into the remote system. We were able to block them and kick them out and mitigate a lot of the damage, right?
Right.
Which yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do, or if they didn't have an IT partner, that couldn't have happened, right?
Right.
If they had just done the remote access setup to their own system and then that happened, they would have been like, uh-oh, what's going on? How do I kick this
Right.
person out? What do we do? Right? So,
Interesting. But yeah,
yeah,
how a normal person wouldn't be able to go in and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna kick you." I mean, it would be like walking blind.
yeah. What they start doing is they'll just turn it off, unplug cables, and then they'll be like, okay, now what? How do I function as a business? Right?
Well,
Um,
even if you're unplugging cables, though, we're talking about you can't unplug the
yeah, it depends
internet.
on the complexity of your environment, right? Yeah, there's so much that, yeah.
Like, I'm thinking like you can't unplug the cloud. Like everything is now in the cloud. Like you can't, I guess the main server to where everything is housed. Yeah, if you shut that down, but I mean, my email is shut down right now and I'm barely functioning. If you shut down my main server as to where everything, I'd be like, okay, I might as well just go and take a vacation because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got
What are you
nothing
gonna
to
do?
do. Right. Like, click on the keys, like, okay, got a black screen. I'll just pretend to work. Yeah, it's you shut down one system And you don't realize until, like, I have a list of things that I have to do right now that I can't because I'm in the middle of migrating my email and it got shut down. And they're like, oh, it'll be about 60 minutes. You don't realize how frustrating that is because you're moving so fast that I never realized that, oh, I send an email, then I go back to something, then I send an email. Now, every time I have to send an email, I have to write down, I have to send this person an email, I have to send this person oh God, this is frustrating. Like, now I'm creating a backlog of all of the stuff that I didn't even realize that I'm constantly doing on a regular. So if your main system of something went down, your domain, your server, your whatever, the backlog, not to mention if there was damage.
Yep. Well, and
Ooh,
that's when you want to already have an incident response plan or a continuity and disaster recovery plan in place. So you know, like, oh, if this goes down, then this is what we're going to do instead, right? Or this is how long it's going to take to get back up, right?
right,
There's so many considerations that way. And that's we call it business continuity instead of just backups, where we can actually have backup systems that are like extra copies of the system. And then the main system goes down, we just like flip a switch, like kick it over here instead, right? And then you're back up and running in minutes instead of like, oh, sorry, it's going to take 48 hours to do a data restore or whatever. And what are you going to do in the meantime? Right. So it
right,
depends on how essential the system is, how you need to consider it in the continuity plan, and what it's worth. How much is it worth paying more to have a backup continuity
right,
system that you can just flip on like that because
right,
it's that essential to your business, right?
right. Well, and it's funny because, for the majority of everything else that we have, your website, for instance, you have a backup of your website. I mean, you should. If you don't, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you create a website, you should have a backup. You should regularly backing that up. If something happens to your main website, you should be able to really quickly just restore that with, like, the original content and everything else. You should have a complete backup of that, and you should be regularly backing that up if you're making any changes. You should have a backup of all your files, or that should be backed up on a regular basis. And even, myself still being a small little shop, I still regularly go in and manually do backups of all my files. Because if my main computer goes down, God forbid, somebody dumps water on my computer or my computer breaks or whatever, I have a hard drive, an external hard drive that has a mass quantity of space. I literally back up everything. I'm going to guess that there are a lot of business owners out there that don't think about that. They're brand new. They're like, okay, I'm starting. And then all of a sudden, oh, gee, I just lost my laptop. In fact, I was talking to a woman not too long ago who was driving to a meeting at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she got us in a severe car accident, almost lost her life. We were talking, and now she's getting through the healing process. 3 months later, she's still healing from this. And one of the things she said to me was, my laptop survived. And I'm like, okay, like, we shouldn't be talking about how you're so thrilled your laptop survived. You should have a backup with everything that's on that laptop somewhere so that if it hadn't survived, your business wouldn't have completely just gone away.
Yeah, totally. The backup's super important, but also the encryption on laptops and mobile devices is important. And that comes back to like the reporting requirements. Like that's something for HIPAA, for example. If we've got patient information on a doctor's laptop, right? And that laptop gets stolen, then that has to be reported, right? But if the laptop's encrypted when it's stolen, it doesn't need to be reported. They can just buy a new one and be back in business and not have to worry about it because whoever stole it's going to have to wipe it to even use that machine at all. So there's
Interesting.
there's considerations like that most business owners have no idea about, that I'm
Right.
helping educate them on, like during the audit or risk assessment process, right?
Right.
I recently found I did a security risk assessment with a law firm recently, and this exact thing came up. I was like, oh, well, we found millions of dollars worth of private information on the owner's personal laptop, and it's not encrypted. So if that laptop were to be stolen, you would be
Right.
in big trouble, right? That's the kind of thing that we help with all the time. So
Interesting. That do you think, and this will be my last question because we are coming to time, before you get your 30-second shameless pitch here, but do you think there will come a time where it just is mandatory for everybody to have encrypted devices because of that? I mean, my cell phone, for instance, like, yeah, if you get my cell phone, and you were able to break it. Apple is actually quite amazing when it comes to like, hey, if you lose your password, you're screwed. Sorry. We don't give out passwords. We don't give pins. It's your responsibility. Like,
right.
and there's been people who, this whole story about a kid who was playing around and it locked it for like 2 million minutes or something. Like there are 2 billion minutes. And then Apple's like, yep, there's nothing we can do for you. We don't,
Yeah.
that's great. Like, hey, you can pretty much know that you're not going to be able to break into somebody's phone unless you can figure out the pass because it'll continue to just lock you out. So do you think there will come a time when, I mean, devices, it's just a standardized feature that it has to be encrypted?
Yeah, well, it's the trend has been going that way, definitely. A lot of services are starting to be encrypted by default, like messaging services too, right? WhatsApp and Signal are doing that.
Right.
They're rolling out even encrypted SMS is coming very soon. And yeah, it used to be that the default when you got a new phone was not encryption, and that's already changed too. So,
Interesting.
but in terms of the requirements, it just depends on your jurisdiction. Like right now, the US doesn't have data privacy and security regulations like Europe does, right? Where a lot of this is mandatory, but there's individual states in the US that do, right? So
Interesting.
it's the kind of thing where it'll probably be coming here soon. And yeah, you're going to need an IT partner to help you fulfill those requirements.
Hmm. I mean, it just makes more sense.
Yeah.
You just
I'll
encrypt.
I'll I'll
Then
leave you
again,
with one
then
other
again,
bit related to that
yeah.
is quantum computers are coming also. They're already here, but they're very uh, minimal in terms of their capabilities and how much data they can process. But quantum computers can essentially break any standard encryption. So, and regardless of what your encrypted private key is, a quantum computer is going to be able to break into that and get through the encryption. There's newer encryption techniques that have just been discovered in the last couple of years that are actually quantum proof. And so that's really the next level on this story of where we're going with encryption is we need to get encrypted systems converted over to quantum proof encryption because 99% of them are not currently, and the quantum computers are coming that'll be able to break into any of this stuff.
Okay, so this would be a whole nother conversation because you lost me at I understand at a high level that quantum computers are like next level that I don't get, but I did not know that those were becoming like available. Are you talking available to like the general public?
Oh, no, no, they're not going to be
Okay.
available to the general public for some time, but
Okay.
they're already available for governments and schools doing research on them and large institutions, right?
Okay.
Um,
Right.
and they're
'Cause-
getting bigger and bigger and more complex, and that's one of the first practical implications as quantum computers
Right.
become more common is standard encryption is not going to work anymore.
Right.
So yeah, that's where I was going with that.
So basically, the government is not going to be able. An encryption is not going to keep the government out of knowing exactly what we're doing and when we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean the NSA is going to be buying all the quantum computers they can because they want to break in everywhere and read everyone's everything, right?
Right.
So
So we'll never
yeah,
be protected from the government basically sticking their fingers in whatever they want to stick their fingers in is the moral of the story.
yeah,
They
yeah.
always got to one up us, don't they?
Well, but there, like I said, there is math that is quantum proof encryption that is doable.
Right.
So that would be a
Interesting.
whole other conversation we could get into sometime.
Right.
But it's yeah, that's kind of the next frontier there in terms of
Right.
encryption data
My
privacy.
God, that's so interesting. Okay, well, and I would love to continue this conversation because I love knowledge, and I know that my listeners, know I'm a total geek. I'm a total nerd. I love to learn, but we are coming to time. So 30-second shameless pitch.
Yeah, so if you're running a small business, you already know that tech can either be your biggest advantage or your worst nightmare. And that's where Plan IT comes in. We bring enterprise level IT, web, cybersecurity, and compliance solutions to small businesses, but without that enterprise price tag. Our global team delivers cutting edge technology trusted by business leaders. It's never too early or too late to find the right IT partner. If you're interested, come to planitinnovate.com and click the button to book a call with me. I'd love to chat with you about your business's tech needs.
Awesome. And how can somebody reach out to you?
Yeah, my website, planitinnovate.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Ari Milner, Arimilner.
Awesome. And Ari, your contact information will be in the show notes. So if somebody is trying to reach out to you, you can check on the show notes. The full show notes are listed on Podbean, but you can also find that on YouTube on the where our show is listed on Love Your Sales and the YouTube channel. So please go ahead and find Ari's contact information there. But I really appreciate our conversation. It's been fun and just filled with a ton of good information.
Yeah, thanks so much, Leighann, for having me.
Yeah.
This podcast is presented by Accelerate Growth 45, your one-stop shop for business growth. Stop running your business like an operator, delaying wealth creation, and sacrificing your time. Instead, focus on building a valuable business asset, creating lasting wealth, and reclaiming the time you deserve. Accelerate your growth today and visit us at accelerategrowth45.com.
Thanks for joining us for Love Your Sales. For more, connect with Leighann on LinkedIn and be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a rating and review. We'd love to hear what you think. Looking for a way to take your sales process to the next level? Visit us at loveyoursales.com to find out more about how Leighann can take your organization to new revenue heights. And be sure to join us next time for more great ways to love your customers so they love your sales.